So many of us have been told to stay calm when our kids are acting out because it's going to help the situation. But how? I've often wondered how so many moms can stay so patient with their kids when they're challenging them so intensely, and the moms are calmly responding. Today, I want to talk about 5 ways that you can be that mom. 5 strategies to stay calm while your kids are acting out. First of all, I want to normalize this experience. It's just really hard when your children are challenging you, especially through the course of the day, if it happens over and over and over, to stay calm through the overwhelm and stress of your children's challenges. We've all been there where we've snapped, and then after the fact, we're like, oh my goodness, what did I just say? What did I just do? And your children now are either scared or more mad, and we have to figure out how to fix that. It's normal and it's common. And so the one suggestion I have in those moments is making sure that you repair. But that is for a whole other video. So tip number 1 is to know when your stress levels are increasing. What's key here is to scale it on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 is the most stress you could possibly experience. 1 is just mildly annoyed. And where on that scale are your emotions? Where are you physically on that scale? And where is your thought process on that scale? And when you've hit about a 5 or a 6, and for some people about a 4, that's when you need to make sure that you're doing something different to interrupt that process before you snap. And one really good way to do this is to take an adult timeout. So not putting your child in a timeout, but for you to go to a quiet, calm space to help you re-regulate, to help you calm down from the overwhelm so that you don't snap on your child. And you want to make sure that you do this before your thinking brain has gone offline and that you sunk into fight or flight mode and start yelling, because then you can sit in that quiet space and come up with ways to respond in a healthy way to your child versus reacting and yelling at them. What you want to do is create a beautiful space somewhere in your house. For a lot of people, it's in their room, where you have a lot of the things that you enjoy that are calming, help you re-regulate, help your body feel good, and have all of those objects that are necessary for self-care and for calming you in that space, ready and available for you when you go to it. Then the second key thing, which a lot of parents don't often think about, is making sure that you time limit it. So set a timer or tell your child how long you're going to be. And the reason for this is if your child is struggling and you leave, now they're anxious the whole time about what's happening, when you're going to come back, if you're going to yell at them, when you're going to come back. And they're sitting there with all of this distress inside their body as they wait for you. One more key thing is to make sure when you do reunite that your child feels the situation's repaired. They need to feel that it's special, that they are in your world, that you're there, and that they light up your world. And the reason this is so important is because they had a moment where they're causing you distress with the intensity of their emotions. And that moment led to you going on a timeout. And so they need to know that that's been repaired so that they can feel good inside. A second key way of not losing it on your child when they're overwhelming you is to speak out what's going on. I find this is really effective both for me and for my kids when I do this. So I'll say something like, I am getting really overwhelmed right now, and I'm so close to yelling, and I don't want to do that. And so that helps me kind of become aware of how close to the edge I am. And it helps my kids understand how close to the edge I am so that we can do something different. It kind of interrupts the process so they know that their behavior is affecting me. And it sounds simple and silly, but it also helps for you to be able to say it out loud so that you can hear how the behavior is affecting you And so you know that you need to go do something different before you snap. So why does this work? It kind of acts as a release valve. It releases internal pressure and releases the stress before it gets too intense and explodes inside of you. It prevents emotions from building up until they get to the point where they just need to be released. It's kind of like a volcano. If you don't speak them out and you don't release that pressure, then it's going to keep going, keep going, and keep going, and then explode and create way more damage all over the place on so many more people than just the one child that is causing you this distress. So speaking it out will actually help release that pressure so you don't get to that point. Another reason why this works so well is that it actually engages your thinking brain. So by speaking out your emotions, it kicks in that rational side so that instead of reacting, then you can easily take a pause and respond to what's going on in the moment versus react to what's going. It just interrupts the whole process, which is so helpful in giving you that extra couple of seconds before that lower brain takes over and you lose it. Number 3 is positive self-talk and mantras. These I find are so helpful for me. I always tell myself you can do anything for 2 minutes. And that one really, really helps because it keeps me focused to keep going. It keeps you in the mind frame of staying present, of being there, of wanting to be there, of continuing through the hard stuff. So find whatever statement works well for you and repeat that to yourself in these moments, and it helps you stay calm. Another one that I heard a while back that helped me, especially when my kids were little and they would wake up so often at night, or they would cry a lot, or they had so many needs that sometimes I had a hard time keeping up with, was they're not going to be doing this when they're 30. And it helps you appreciate the moment that this is just a little snapshot in time, and that you can get through the snapshot and sometimes even appreciate the moment, because the amount that they need you is not going to be the same when they're 30. What I would recommend is finding your own positive statements, either making them up, asking friends what they say to themselves, and making a list, or even Google it, find it on YouTube, find just a list of different strategies, different statements that you can have access to use in moments when you feel like you're snapping. Keep that list in a place where you're going to see it often. Post it on the fridge, put it in a bag when you leave the house, put it somewhere in your car so that when you're on a drive and you need something. These statements will help you stay calm, but only if you have access to them and only if you remember them. Strategy number 4 is to grab your child and dance. Put music on that's happy, that's positive, that has a beat, and dance to the music. This is one of my absolute favorite strategies. If I have no other capacity to do anything else, putting music on and holding my child and dancing around the kitchen changes how I feel and changes how my kids feel. Dancing releases endorphins and it makes you happy. And like I had said before, not only do you experience the endorphins, your children experience the endorphins, but an added key benefit is that it changes your nervous system. And when you are hugging your child, their nervous system cues off of yours. It is so amazing. Another reason why this works is because it creates a positive distraction. The music just totally changes the mood in the moment. It changes your thought process. It interrupts the emotion and the negative spiral downward for whatever conversation that you're having. So that then gives your thinking brain a chance to kind of catch up. And so when you turn off the music, then you're able to respond instead of react to whatever was happening. It's now in those moments where you can sit down and have a conversation about it, because everybody's brain is relaxed and happy and connected. And then you can have a conversation about what happened and whether or not you need consequences for that. Okay, the last one, number 5. This one is really, really important to keep in mind. So we always talk about coping strategies for us, coping strategies for our kids, but there's actually a secret trick to coping strategies that most people don't talk about. And that is that different coping strategies are needed for different intensities of emotions. So at the beginning of the video, I was talking about scaling your stress level on a scale of 1 to 10. And this is so, so very important, not just to track whether you're getting overwhelmed and to know that you need to do something different, but then to also know that if you're in a certain area, only certain coping strategies are going to work during those moments. Here's what I mean. If you break it down into 1 to 3, 4 to 7, 8 to 10, the intensity levels are going to dictate what is going to be helpful in those moments. So if you are feeling stress on a scale of 1 to 3, your thinking brain's pretty much there. You might just need to take a deep breath, count to 10, and then respond to your child. And you don't really need huge coping strategies to be able to stop the process or not snap on your child. If you are, say, between a 4 and a 7, your intensity is increasing, and it's probably in those moments that you might want to go take an adult timeout or listen to happy music or turn on dance music, go for a walk around the block. These things are going to help you during that intensity. When you're at an 8 plus, that is when, if you're not careful, you're literally going to snap. And taking a deep breath is not going to work. Possibly taking a walk around the block might work, but things like snapping your physiological system back would be more effective. So in these moments, it'd be something like going to the sink and maybe splashing cold water on your face just to shock your system, which will help calm you down enough. And then maybe you can do some other coping strategy. But you want to figure out for yourself what those categories look like, and then add different coping strategies for each one of those categories that will be effective. Do not assume that one coping strategy is going to be effective for every intensity of stress and overwhelm. Okay, I'm going to give you a bonus strategy. This one is really key. Number 6, practice, practice, practice. Here's the deal. It's one thing to make a list of coping strategies, which is essential. You need to know what you need to do in these moments before it happens. So that's tip number 1. Figure out what you need, figure out what makes you feel good, figure out what's going to calm you down, write a list and put it somewhere so you have access to it. But the bonus tip in practicing is that you need to engage in these strategies when you're feeling calm, so that when your intensity is increasing, they work. For example, oftentimes we talk to our kids about deep breathing. If you're going into a situation, you're feeling anxious or you're starting to feel frustrated, do some deep breathing. Well, deep breathing will only work if you know how to do it properly and you've experienced it in a proper way. And so when you're not overwhelmed is the time to engage in these things. Take some deep breaths, figure out how to do the deep breathing, create some really positive experiences around it so that in the moment when you need it, you know how to do it and you know it's going to be effective. You can't just assume, write a list of things that might work, and then when you get in the moment, assume that they're going to work. If you haven't practiced them and they have no impact, positive self-statements is another good one. So writing a list of your positive self-statements is a really good start, but practicing them and rehearsing them so that they can be effective or they can be remembered for when you need them is super important. Remember to practice your coping strategies before you need them. And the same goes for your kids. If you're teaching them to do different coping strategies, make sure that you're teaching them to practice them when they don't need them, so that when they do need them, they're skilled at them and they're well versed. So staying calm not only helps you not lose it on your child, but it also teaches your child so many things. It teaches them valuable emotional regulation skills. It models to them some really healthy coping strategies, and it helps them see on a relational level that you're making an attempt to connect with them and to develop healthy relationships. All so many good things. Staying calm when your child is challenging is so very important. But at the end of the day, there are those moments where you're going to snap because your overwhelm goes up, your ability to control that goes out the window, and that's okay. What you want to make sure you do, like I said at the very beginning, is to repair when those moments happen. Because they'll happen. But the more you practice these strategies that I talked about in this video, the less those moments are going to happen, because you're also developing your own self-regulation skills and self-awareness skills of when your stress increases. If you found these tips helpful, what I've done is I've compiled them into a checklist so that you can remember them and kind of go through them on your own in a step-by-step process to create them within your own home. And I've also added a whole bunch more to the checklist so that you can use the ones that work really well for you and then just throw out the rest, because certain things work well for certain people and certain families and other things just don't. So I'll link the resource in the description below so that you can access that if you'd like it. Share this video with your friends if you find that they need them. And if you would like more personalized support, I do have an Empowered Moms community membership. Sign up for that, because that's where we can have the personal conversations where you can ask me questions and I will personally answer and give you support as you go through these different challenges so that we can find positive momentum together and I can celebrate your victories as well as the other moms in the group. It's such a special time and I would love to see you there. The link is also in the description. Until next video, I will see you later. Have an amazing day. Bye.